fine. That's what we'll do. All right. So let me talk to you now about. Let me talk to you about these vocabulary words. Ask more questions. More questions? Go ahead. Do you have a question? Hey, you have a question? Ask a question. It's okay.
I got it.
What was it, though?
Just where to find the vocab.
And you know, if you have questions, you shoot me an email or whatever. I answer your question. All right. All right, these are the vocabulary words. These are some of the vocabulary words. All right? This is enough. This is enough. I'm in the lessons link. I'm in the lessons link. And I'm talking to you about some of the vocabulary words that we'll find on our vocabulary quiz. It says exam, but it is just a quiz of your knowledge to make sure that you understand vocabulary words that we will be covering. Because when I get into something, and I get all involved and I'm all into it, I'm going to be using words, and I want you to know what those words mean. So again, this is a very different format in how this class is set up, but I need to prepare you so that you can understand what it is that we're talking about, okay? So some of these vocabulary words are going to be found throughout the textbook. They're going to be throughout the textbook, but I'm going to prepare you in advance so that when I'm communicating about something, you can follow me and you're with me, okay? So some of these vocabulary words are going to be about race, class, gender, community. They're going to be about stratification. Stratification is when you rank people based upon the amount of power that they have, right? When you stratify people, you break people up and rank them into groups or classes, right? So some of the vocabulary words will be about how you stratify people, right? But I'm going to go through those. Does everybody understand what we're doing? We're going to comprehensively attack vocabulary words that I think you may not fully understand. So some of these things, you've heard of them before, but I'm not sure that you fully understand the definition. And if you do, that's perfectly fine. But if not, I'm going to take you through it, all right? So the first is a norm. How many people here knew that norms were actually rules? Raise your hand if you knew that a norm was actually a rule. So people say normal all the time, and we think we know what normal means. But what normal really is your perception of rules about something, right? Rules about behavior. So if you have a norm, that is a basic rule, a social rule that has been defined by people, whoever that is. Who says what is normal? Who says, this is normal, this is not. But it is a social rule about behavior and expectations. So now you know that when somebody says norm, it's somebody's classification. Now this sex is not the sex that people have. When we see sex in sociology, you're talking about whether someone is a man or a woman, okay? So most of the time, the norms, the social rules that exist in society, they deal with whether someone is a man or a woman, whether they own something, or how safe somebody needs to feel. So the close proximity that you need somebody to be in, are they violating your safety? So most social norms that exist have to do with those three things: sex, property, and then safety. So to get a little deeper, I know that you all have heard of morals before, right? Raise your hand, you've heard the word morals, right? So, but a more, that comes from morals, you know what I mean? A more is a very important norm. That's why people say, I don't know, if this person has any morals, right? What are their values all about? What's that all about? You know what I mean? This person is doing something that is absolutely crazy, and I'm going to go ahead and say that they're deficient in some categories because this is immoral, what they're doing. So a more is a very important norm. Now, a folkway is a little different. And I don't know if you've heard of these words before, but we're going to talk about them in sociology. This is why I need to introduce them. When you hear the terms more, folkway, and law, those are three types of norms that exist and that, we deal with in different ways. So the folkway is kind of like, okay, Does anybody remember virginity? I don't know. At this point in your life, I don't even know if some of you know what that even means. What the world is virginity? That was gone years ago. I don't know him. I don't know her. But anyway, so at some point during virginity, right? And I can pick the ladies, I can pick the men, I can pick on anybody because, there's a weak relationship between groups. That's what conflict theorists say, right? We don't know. But somebody during virginity said, if I'm going to actually engage in this, not that sex up there, the other sex, right? This person has to take me out 75,000 times. We have to do, they have to pay attention to me. They have to listen to me. We have to talk on the phone for 35 minutes a day for 2 years, right? Does everybody remember virginity? You know what I'm saying? Do you remember? Does anybody remember virginity now? I was like, I still don't remember virginity. What is virginity? Right? And so, there are all of these rules, and these rules are like folkways. You understand? Because a folkway is something that you connect with for a very long time for a certain reason, and then something happens. And then the folkway is gone. So after virginity, sex is like, oh, Burger King? Okay, let's go. Yeah, right? I'm not saying all of you. I'm just saying that, the folkways, does everybody get it? You get it? Anyway. I mean, maybe not Burger King. Maybe Red Lobster. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe one phone call. A drink. I don't know. Consent. We talked about that, right? Talking about consent. Yes.
So it's like, you think something's bad up until the point that you do it, and you're like,
the born again Christian. Or, I'm never going to curse again.
Yeah.
So for like a month, you're like, oh, phooey, oh, shitty. You're saying all of these things, and then somebody gets on your nerves, and you're like, and then it's all over. And after that, hey girl, what the f you doing? And then everything is over. It's all done. Something has happened, and now you're no longer not cursing anymore. Do you get it though? I mean, because folkways can appear to be so valuable and so important to you. It can be rules, social rules that you truly follow, you really believe in for a particular moment. And sometimes those moments are a very long time, but then something happens, something changes, and then they're no more. Or they can come in and out. You get it? Huh? Where? Yes. Okay. Next, laws. So laws are connected to sanctions, okay? So when you break a law, you're punished, right? Now with Moors, it's different. Like, raise your hand if you plan on going home and just having sex with your brother.
what?
Exactly. So I mean, the thing is, if you decide to do something like that, so my brother is hot. My brother is really nice looking. But, I mean, that's for me to tell somebody else. That's not for me to be like, come on, hot brother. That's not, everybody here knows, if your sister is beautiful, or you tell somebody, yeah, I'm proud of my brother. He's a good-looking man, I'm going to stand up for him, but I don't want to do that. I don't want to go there, Moors, they're Moors. Follow these Moors. But, I'm not going to go to jail. Like, I wouldn't go to jail if I went home and was like, yo, bro, can we practice some stuff? But it's bad. It's bad. That's bad. Isn't that bad? If your brother's 5 years old, but it's connected to a law. Yeah, this is bad. So anyway, but you get it. Tell me that you get it. Come on, let's focus back. Get it?
Is that a folkway or more?
A Moor? It should be a Moor. It should be a Moor that, that incest is not good. That's bad, right? I mean, I've heard stories, I've heard stories about different things, but, for the most part, look, if I can get your attention in this type of way from this conversation, then you know that it makes sense. Then you should know that this is something that makes sense. And sociologists, they talk about these things. They talk about, what are your mores, you understand? What are the folkways? And when we get into branching off into our social work studies or our criminology studies, we start talking about, what are the rules and regulations that drive this person's interaction and their behavior with other people. So what are the norms in this particular society, right? And how strong are they? You know, how strong are these norms? How much do these rules dictate how other people are going to interact or behave? And I gave you a couple silly examples, but it should be enough for you to get the point. That laws are enforced by the threat of force. You know, if there's a law and you break that law, someone could take away, they can take something away from you. They can take your rights away if you break a law. So laws are a little different. Now keep in mind that sometimes laws, they overlap. There were laws, drinking laws, how old someone is when they can drive a vehicle. Everybody understand that? There are some laws that come and go. And sometimes somebody might refer to a law that is gone as a folkway, because perhaps it was something that you would follow, but it's not a rule or a regulation that we really pay attention to anymore because the law has changed. So anyway, I just want you to understand what a norm actually is, and perhaps how somebody would communicate about a norm. Is it a very, very strong norm? That would be called a what?
Law.
More. Very strong. A law can be penalized through force. You understand? You can be penalized through force. It's enforced by threat of force. I'm going to do something to you to punish you if you violate this norm. Right? So there are norms that exist in society that are related to this term. This is another word. It's not up there, but this is another term we'll talk about called deviance. Right? There's deviance and then there's crime. Deviant behavior is a type of behavior that violates a norm. So if I pick my nose right now and flick a booger across this classroom, I may not go to jail, but I definitely have done something that is not normal. It is not good. Perhaps someone might beat me up for flicking a booger on them because some people take that stuff very seriously and perhaps some people don't. But there is deviant behavior, you understand? And sometimes there aren't laws, you understand, right? You can't go to jail, you understand? There's no sanction, but we know the difference between right and wrong, right? Everybody with me? Yeah, we're gonna move on. Raise your hand, it's okay for me to move on. You get this? Okay, we're gonna keep going. So everybody go like this. Here I go again, go like this. Cock your head to the side, say feelings. Say feelings. There you go, feelings, right? Values, that's what it is, feelings. Nothing more than feelings, right? That's what values are all about, how you feel about something. So you have norms, right? And then that was a little crazy, I know, but it's okay. You have norms, and the norms are about social rules, right? But then you have your values, and that's like, man, is this good? Is this bad? Do I like it or not? Do I value it, right? Is it important to me? So the values are the things that you attach feelings to. You attach feelings to your values, okay? And so the thing is, values may not specify behavior. So norms actually specify behavior. But you could feel a certain way about something, but that doesn't actually mean that you're going to act on it. Because the values, this stuff isn't here. Does everybody understand that? So there could be somebody that I don't like at all. But we work together, right? So there are norms that exist in the workplace that dictate how I would behave, right? Those norms say this is the way you're going to interact in this particular setting, right? And there may be a set of laws that are written in that workplace that say this is how you need to behave. But those laws don't dictate how I feel, right? They don't dictate how I feel. Values, that's how I feel. But I may have to behave in a different way, you understand? So everybody doesn't like you. I just wanted to tell you that. It's really important to know. Everybody doesn't like you. All the people you work with, all the smilers, they're not your friends. But that's okay. You hear me? Everybody doesn't like you. Everybody's not going to like you, right? Because we all have different things that we think are good or bad or right or wrong. And we all have certain behaviors that someone's told us this is normal and this is not. And so to somebody, you may not be normal. But I don't need you becoming upset because everybody doesn't like you. So what? So what everybody doesn't like you? So what? But everybody's not going to like you, and you won't always know because somebody's smiling. Everybody hear that? Just because somebody's running around smiling doesn't mean that inside here they like you. So just be careful. That was a little mini lesson. And of course, you know, values can change over time. So one day you can really enjoy something, and another day not. It happens at my house with cereal. Does that happen with you? I buy all this Captain Crunch, and then all of a sudden I don't like Captain Crunch anymore. Why not? I bought it. You know, we've already spent money on Captain Crunch. Now it's all about the Fruity Pebbles. And let me guess, next week, I don't like Fruity Pebbles, right? Values change. They change. They change over time. So what I'm going to tell you right now is that you be really careful about who you think you like at this very young age that you have right now. Because values change over time. And as you involve yourself in different things, as you learn more, as you build your knowledge, and as you grow, what you like may actually change. That's why marriage is so difficult, they say, you understand? Because every day we're always changing. Values are changing. So you have to actually love and tolerate the person that you're with and understand that they're going to be constantly changing every day as you're changing every day. Every time you learn something new, things are adjusting. What you think is right or wrong, those things are adjusting. They're changing all the time. But I want you to think about that. I want you to understand that if you're talking to somebody and they've changed their mind, that's okay. Because values change. People change. So if you're always getting mad, oh, yesterday you said you love Fruity Pebbles and today you're all about the Captain Crunch. I don't like you. You're inconsistent. Right? Let it go. Okay, let it go. Everybody's inconsistent. Everybody here is inconsistent in some type of way because values are based upon feelings, and feelings are subject to change, right? I'm not saying everybody's phony and corny. I'm just saying that people change. Ideas change all the time. So if you want to learn to interact with people better and do a very quality job communicating with other people, it's really good that you understand that people can change their minds about something. That opinions change, but they change for a reason. So, of course you might be disappointed that somebody's changed their mind, but the important thing is to talk to them about why, right? Instead of being mad because values change, try to understand how this change has occurred so that you can figure out how to take things to the next level, okay? So in sociology, we're going to constantly be talking about how values can change over time. People can change. So focus on how it happens. You hear me? When you're in a conversation, if you really want to have a good relationship with somebody and they've changed their mind about something, talk to them about how this has occurred. Don't just stop and be mad because they changed their mind. You understand? Because change is natural. It happens. People feel differently about things all the time. One conversation that you have with another person can change your values about a series of different things, and you don't even know that it's happening. Everybody with me on that? So you can have one conversation, a serious conversation, and have no idea that, remember, stimulus and response. Remember we talked about symbolic interactionism and how if you let your body work, if you let your brain work, it will connect lots of ideas and things that have happened over time. One conversation with another person can actually change your mind about things, and you don't know until that situation comes up that, oh, I don't agree with this anymore. So this is just to think about that. All right. And then different norms can be based upon the same values. So let me see. Different norms can be based upon the same values. So I did an example of a type of behavior, different types of behavior and the same value. So how you feel about something. So it always works for me to talk about my kids. I love my daughter, right? So because I love her, you understand, there are going to be a series of different social rules that exist in society that will then impact my feelings for her. So one social norm that exists in society is that, as a mother, right, I have the ability to perhaps discipline my child. Another, on the opposite end, is that I should love her. I should be there for her. I should take care of her. I should keep her prepared, right? At the end of the day, it is because I am her mother and she is very important to me, you understand, that I choose, in fact, how I'm going to discipline her and what responsibilities I'm actually going to assume. So in the center, I have this idea that, I feel for her, I'm going to care for her, but then there are different expectations, norms, behaviors that I'm expected to have, you understand, that all center around the love that I have for her. And you'll find that in your life, that how you feel about somebody, right, how that is definitely going to impact how you act and what you do, Now, it doesn't determine how you act or what you do, right? It doesn't always determine how you act and what you do, but it can relate. Does everybody understand that? So the example that I gave about how a rule or regulation in society, like the idea that you're in a workplace and you have to behave appropriately with somebody that you hate. That's a good example of how, those values cannot directly tell, you will not directly have to act on your value. But at the same time, in a very sophisticated way, you can have values that then impact what you do on a regular basis. Weber would tell us that individuals, when you are engaging in social action, you're going to act for different reasons. The first reason why Weber says you would act is because you're making a choice, an active choice or a decision. That's the reason why I'm doing it. I'm doing it because I think this is good or bad. That's based upon values. Everybody understand that? This is good or this is bad. Now, another type of value that you have is Weber's second reason why people act is because of your heart. Everybody understand that? Sometimes because of your heart makes you act. You're going to do what you want to do in society because you love something. You love somebody. That's going to affect what you do. The third reason why Weber says people are going to act is because some stimulus has occurred and it catches us off guard, and then we make a very quick decision or a rash decision about something. The example that I gave in my other class today was that I had a secretary and I punched her in the face.
What?
I did. I punched her in the face. I punched the secretary in the face. All this red flag business, and I did this. I punched the secretary in the face. Right in the face, laid her on the ground. Right there. Bam! She's on the ground. So this is what happened. And keep in mind, values do not specify behavior, right? But different norms may be based upon the same values. Keep this in mind. So there was a young girl, okay, story, because I don't want you thinking bad about me because I hit somebody, okay? Because I couldn't help it. Because Weber says sometimes there's a situation and then you're out of control and then you act. The young lady, the little girl, she was about 13. And anybody ever heard of a train before? Not like the train that you catch somewhere, but like a different type of train where it's like 17 guys and then one little girl. So it's a special train. So I was working at an organization, there was a special train going on in the basement, and nobody knew about this train. And I didn't know there was a train in the basement. I thought it was just a regular basement. I didn't know trains ran through the basement where I worked. So I went downstairs, and there's a little girl in one end, and there's a whole line. There's a whole line of people riding the train. Okay? So I get this little girl, and I need to take her under my wing. Because I can't watch a child participate in a train event. Unless what's the little blue train on the TV? Thomas, unless it's Thomas. And Thomas wasn't there, okay? So this is happening, and so keep in mind, the little girl is the daughter of the boyfriend of the secretary. You with me?
Oh, wait, say that again.
The little girl is the daughter of the boyfriend of my secretary. So the secretary has a boyfriend, and he has a daughter that's participating in a training event.
Yeah.
Okay? So the man gets mad because I give this little girl probably about $1,000 or $2,000 of clothes that I wasn't wearing, and let her shower and talk to her about pride and talk to her about different things so that she can strengthen herself, and understand that she shouldn't participate in training events because they're just not a good. That's not a good look, right? It's just not good. You're 13. This is a train. You shouldn't be on that train. Go on a different train, not that one. Okay. So then the mother and the girl, the secretary, and the boyfriend take the photocopy photocopy machine from the organization, and they type out a letter about how I don't care about the community because I think I'm better than people, and so I'm going to try to make this girl like me because I'm better than this little girl by giving her all these clothes, and distributed 5,000 of these letters to the entire service area of the community.
Put a letter about the training event.
There's nothing about a training event. There was a letter about how I'm the director and I don't care about the community and I think I'm better than the community. And, you know, basically by me taking this child in and trying to help her, that, you know, I was saying that there was something wrong with their parenting.
Was it there?
That's not what I talked about. I didn't talk about our parents. I talked about, you know, listen. I love that little girl because she was a child, right? I also have a lot of respect for my organization. So in this case, the respect that I had for my organization resulted in behavior, right? And certain behavior. When you violate somebody and what they believe in, there's a possibility that you might get laid out on the ground. There's a possibility that that could happen. Does everybody understand that, right? There are social rules. You all should understand that there are certain things that you shouldn't do. You go now, of course, your boss should not do that. I was not right. That was not good. That was not a good call. But it was a balance between my integrity, right, and how I felt as a person, right, and then the rules and regulations that existed on that job. And I believe that that woman had crossed every line, every possible line. And because of Weber's third reason, right, why we act, why we engage, right, that was the end result. So in that case, my feelings were directly aligned with a series of behaviors and social rules. Some social rules were broken and some social rules were not. Yeah.
Wouldn't that be like a kind of passion?
Perhaps a crime of passion, but I don't think I was thinking about whether it was a crime or not. Sometimes we act in response to a stimulus, you understand? I was not temporarily insane. I could not plead temporary insanity. It wasn't that serious, but I was very upset, right? I was very upset, but my values determined my behavior, right? And there were a series of social rules that I had applied in my life, you understand? There were rules and regulations that existed for behavior in my life, and she had violated those rules and behavior, you understand? And for that reason, I responded. I responded to that. I did not like what she did. She violated social rules, and that was my response. Like it or not, that's what it was. I felt bad at the end of the day. But again, like I said, and the fourth reason I'm telling you more about Weber, because this is important, if you understand, for you to know as we move forward. Weber says that the fourth reason that we respond, it aligns with Karl Marx's ideology, which is that you all are basically puppets, you know, following tradition and doing things based upon norms that exist in society. So again, when you're talking about these values and how they specify behavior, it connects to Weber's theory, you understand, because Weber is trying to help you understand that there are 4 different reasons why people act, right? And the idea that values can be connected to that. Weber tells you that you are an individual and you have the ability to act. Karl Marx says that you're manipulated by the system and the system controls you. The system puppeteers you. But when we talk about values and we connect them to a theory, you have to understand that Weber is there saying that even though we have a system and we have a series of rules and regulations, even though we have social rules and we have norms, that sometimes how you feel, you understand, how you feel can determine how you're going to behave. But it doesn't always do that. Are you with me? It doesn't always do that. Sometimes we're controlled, right? And that is Weber's 4th rule, right here, where it says norms do not specify behavior. That is Weber's 4th rule, the idea that there is a system in play and that you might go with tradition because you know that you'll get in trouble if you don't. Right? Does everybody understand that? There may be a law, there may be a sanction. And even though, right, even though your heart says, I don't like this, I don't understand what this means. I don't like this person. You're going to align with the social rules, right? And you're not going to do what you really want to do. You know, in that case, with the lady, I don't know that I wanted to do that, but I did it. I did it. And it happened, and now I'm telling you about it. So don't think I won't complain. I will not keep it. But that was so serious for me in my life. You understand? That was before. Everybody understand that? That was before I became a woman that day with my daughter in the room. Everybody understand that? So that was my pre-maturity phase, right? Where that happened. It's time to go? Okay, we'll keep going. Is it time? Right, it's never time. You did this to me, Benjamin. You go. Get out.
I didn't do it to you,
You
but
better not leave this room, Benjamin. Benjamin.
Yeah?
You told me to leave. And I wasn't even the one that said it's time to get it.
No, I keep thinking this class is over at 25 because the last time he says, oh yeah, class is over at, 25 after, we're going to leave. So every time I look at the clock, I'm like, yeah, Benjamin told me it's over at 25. All right. He's not here. You know everybody in here knows I like you. Okay. All right, let's keep going. All right. Culture and symbols. All right. So now, we talked about the norms and the social behavior. You with me, right? And then we connected the values a little bit to a theory, to Weber, right? Because I needed you to understand the reason why, in fact, theoretically, right? Why, in fact, how we feel sometimes is impacted by, the social rules, and then other times the rules can constrain us and stop us from doing what we really want to do, right? So we were able to align Weberian theory in the 4 modes of action, right? In order to see how that really happens, how that can be. Next you have, and we've talked about this with symbolic interactionism, but you have symbols. And so what I want you to understand is that symbols also relate very closely to these norms and these values, because every symbol has meaning. This card means something. So some of you don't understand that when I'm looking here and I'm seeing these names, I'm actually looking at the names. I'm learning your names. When I see you, some of you know, I know your name because I'm looking at it, but I also know the cards that are not up. You know what I mean? So when you're not here, I know it because you've been sitting in the same spot, and I'm a visual learner. You understand? Symbols really help me because I learned that way. So when somebody's not sitting in their seat, I know. So when I see Mr. Where were you? You worked in class because I looked right there in your seat and I didn't see your face. I may not have read what you have to present in the class yet because I don't know your writing style yet, but I will. And then I'll have more. I'll have more symbols to connect to my knowledge of you and who you are as a student. I'll have our brief interactions when we look at each other, when we relate to each other, when I can see you providing eye contact, when I can tell that you're listening. I think you're listening, but I'll tell you. Let me teach you this. Everybody ready? It's called fake listening. You ready? Let's do this. This is graduate school 101 action. Okay. So I want you, look at me with your eyes, right? And look right at me, right? And then put this look on your face. And now take your head, you go like that. And take one of your eyeballs and kind of make it listening 101 action. Now, while you're looking at me like that, think about what you want to eat. For dinner. I can create a grocery list. Yeah, right? Yeah, you did very well. You look really engaged. Yeah. So when the teacher walks through the class, when your teacher walks across the class, right? And this is all about language. This is about eye contact. This is about nonverbal communication. Everybody understand that? Just through nonverbal communication, you can allow somebody to really believe that you're really into something just by using whole body communication. Listening with your eyes, listening with your ears, with your face, listening with your hands and your feet. You can trick somebody into believing you're truly engaged by what you do with your body. It's very symbolic. All you have to do is sit up and don't play with your hair or anything like that. that means I don't care about what you're saying. Trust me. You know, if you see how your hand is up like this, see how you're sitting like this, like watch this, put it down and sit up a little bit, and then look at me. Just look at me a little bit. I'm serious. I'm serious. Look at me a little bit. Now everybody stare over here. Everybody look at Macy. Everybody look right here. Right here. Now, I want you to do for me, even though you were engaged, you were writing notes, probably more notes than everybody in the class. Now, position yourself, put your arm the way it was, and sit to the side. Does everybody see the difference between sitting like that and then when you sit up and you look at somebody and you go like this? It doesn't really mean that you're engaged. It's a trick. It's culturally symbolic. Everybody understand that? Because someone has said that in the classroom setting, if you use whole body communication, that means that you're really listening. It means you're really paying attention. But it doesn't. It's just a trick because there are certain body movements and certain forms of eye contact that have meaning, and they've attached it to the meaning. Jason, thank you so much for doing that. Because I know you're engaged and I know you're very intelligent. So I just it was okay to do it. I did it. It's already done. There's much love there. All right. So expressive symbolism. Stay with me for a second. So sometimes symbols can be like a code or a tool for power. So there are certain symbols that have a very strong meaning. I'm sure everybody can think of one symbol right now that is totally offensive, and everybody in here knows what it means, and it depends on how hard you pop it, right? How hard you put that finger up. You know, that will determine, and that's not what I'm talking about. Yeah, huh?
We were thinking of that too.
What were you thinking of? That's fine. It doesn't really matter what you were thinking of. It matters about what we're talking about in terms of expressive symbolism. Everybody with me? Right. So I'm just going to tell you that, and I know that I wasn't talking about this, or maybe you didn't think I'm talking about this, but if somebody comes up to you and they point that finger in your face, that finger, you know, this finger right there, right in your, do you see this finger? Like, has anybody ever come to you right here? Right, and they point at you with that finger. What does that feel like for somebody to take that finger and put that finger right in your face? Huh? That's expressive symbolism, right? That's very aggressive, right? Everybody stay with me. Stay with me. That's very aggressive. It's very aggressive, absolutely. So again, symbols and language will catch up. We'll take. All right.